Why does this car have no rear window? I'm going to answer that question in this review of the Polestar 4, which I've been living with for the past 3 months as part of a long-term test of the fully electric mid-size premium SUV. In this video, I'm going to tell you 6 things I like about it and 5 things I don't. So let's go. First thing I like about the Polestar 4 is its design, which is a real standout both inside and out. Starting at the rear end and forgetting the rear window or lack thereof for a second, it really is sleek minimalism, with this full-width LED light tail bar looking quite striking. That design element's a little overdone these days, but what makes the Polestar 4 quite cool is the powering up and down animation that it has. Around the side, I reckon the Polestar 4 looks its best. You really get to appreciate its coupe-like silhouette. But let's be honest, it really is just a high-riding sedan slash fastback and not a mid-size SUV like Polestar claims it to be. That said, the bodywork looks absolutely gorgeous with its really strong lines. Also, its recessed section on the lower doors looks quite cool too. A couple of unusual things about the Polestar 4, or all Polestars in fact, are the stickers as well, just behind the front wheel arches that say that this is a Polestar 4. Funnily enough, it's the only part of the car that spells out the fact that it's a Polestar 4, because the badges front and rear are just badges. And above the sticker, you've got very pronounced side cameras, which are quite interesting to look at too. This particular test vehicle is fitted with the Performance Pack, which ushers in 22-inch forged alloy wheels and Swedish gold Brembo brake calipers, which look pretty cool, but I'll explain why in this video, why you might not need that Performance Pack. Up front, the Polestar 4 looks quite muscular thanks to its strong shoulder lines. Being an EV, of course, there's no front grille, not a traditional one, but that section is pinched in, which makes it look a little bit interesting. Still got plenty of air cooling for that battery, courtesy of the air intake down the front as well. But no doubt the big design highlight here are the Thor's Hammer LED headlights. This is something we've obviously seen on Volvos before. That's Polestar's sister company, and that design trend is obviously copied across here. In this instance with the Polestar 4, those headlights are enlarged and split, which gives them a little bit of extra intrigue as well, and I think they look quite cool. So why does the Polestar 4 have no rear window? Well, the story goes Polestar's designers wanted the Polestar 4 to be a coupe-style SUV, but they didn't want to sacrifice second row headroom, which is so often the case with such a vehicle. So what they did was they moved the rear head rail back to where the rear window would have been to create more headroom, and you can clearly see it's worked because they've got quite a generous bit of headroom here. Now, of course, being no rear window means no light coming in from behind, but it's still quite a light and airy space in here. You've got quarter panel windows and a really large panoramic sunroof, which goes behind my head. So I actually think it's worked quite well. The rear windowless design does, of course, render the role of the traditional rear view mirror redundant. It is still, of course, here, but it's more of a third vanity mirror here in the first row. But with a little flick here, you can turn it into its digital mode, which gives you a live video feed of what's happening behind you. I'll explain more later in this video why that might not be the best design decision. But aside from that, the Polestar 4's interior design really stuns. The first time I sat in it, I was immediately impressed by the level of premiumness in here. Particularly the use of alternative materials is quite impressive, of which there are several accent and upholstery options. My test vehicle's seats are primarily trimmed in mist-tailored knit, which is made of 100% recycled PET bottles. The secondary upholstery is a very pale green bio-attributed Microtech vinyl. It covers most other areas of the interior. I must say I appreciate the unusual interior colours. Zinc deco is the accent used in the middle of the dashboard and door cards. The latter features ambient lighting behind, for which there are several options based on the planets in our solar system. The upper section of the cabin is darker thanks to its black headliner and dashboard top, and then there's the black steering wheel, relatively small digital instrument cluster, and oversized floating central touchscreen. Overall, the design is again very minimalistic, but I think it's all the better for it. The first thing I don't like about the Polestar 4 is its expensive but desirable options. The argument could be made that the Polestar 4 is quite good value on paper, but these options will inevitably drive up its drive-away prices. For example, for $8,000, the very tempting Plus Pack bundles in pixel LED headlights, a head-up display, a 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system, a heated steering wheel, heated rear seats, and 3-zone climate control, among other features. I reckon all of those features I listed should be standard though, particularly at this price point. Even rear privacy glass is a standalone $700 option. The next thing I like about the Polestar 4 is its brilliant Android Automotive multimedia system. This is in a few cars these days, a few different brands in fact as well, but it's really, really impressive here in the Polestar 4. Because it's a Google-based system and it's based on an Android operating system specifically, you've got all the stuff you could possibly want in here. Inbuilt maps comes via Google Maps. You've got things like Spotify for music streaming. There's the Google Play Store that you have access to as well, where you can download other apps too. And it's just really, really easy to use, which is awesome. And I knew how much I loved it when I realized that despite the fact that this car also at the same time supports wireless Apple CarPlay, and being an Apple fanboy myself, I haven't actually used it at all in the 3 months that I've had the car, which if you know me says a lot. So the fact that you're able to log into these systems and just always have them there without having to connect a phone wirelessly or through a cable is absolutely brilliant. But it does unfortunately bring me to the next thing I actually don't like about the car, and that is the degree to which you need to rely upon the touchscreen for all vehicle functions. The worst culprits here are definitely the side mirrors and the steering wheel. The only way to adjust them is through the touchscreen. There's no buttons for them per se, so that's really annoying. Volume control, there is a knob here on the center console where you can twist it to increase your volume, you can pause, play. That's great, but there are no physical climate controls whatsoever, which are really annoying. You do get these controls, these soft controls on the screen all the time for things like temperature, but you've got to do a couple of taps to get fan speed, and the actual fans themselves have no physical controls whatsoever. Again, you've got to go through the multimedia system to direct the airflow in the way that you want, and it just really is disappointing and leads to a poorer user experience, I think. The multimedia system also supports over-the-air updates as well. Since I've had the car for 3 months, I've received 4 of them, one of which introduced Apple Digital Key functionality, so now I can get in the car just with my phone or Apple Watch without having to physically carry the car key with me, which is a really nice feature to have. But yeah, these updates are improving the stability, the functionality of the multimedia system, but also the car overall, which I'll come back to later. The next thing I like about the Polestar 4 is its acceleration. Now, this is the dual motor long range version of the Polestar 4. It's got 2 electric motors, obviously front and rear for dual motor all-wheel drive. We're talking 400 kilowatts of power and 686 newton meters of torque. That's enough for a 0 to 100 sprint in just 3.8 seconds. That's supercar scaring pace. Now, this acceleration is actually not fully unlocked unless you put it in its sport powertrain mode, which you can do via the steering wheel or via the touchscreen, and that gives you the full beans. There's a normal mode, thankfully, which you can potter around town in. It's actually quite linear, surprisingly so, as you're driving it. Even at full acceleration, up to about 50 k's an hour, you wouldn't even realize that the Polestar 4 is as quick as it is. But at 50 k's, it's like there's the sport mode on the entire time, because it gives you that all-wheel drive grip and instantaneous torque that you would expect, and it will definitely throw your occupants into the next row if there is one, and it's really, really, really impressive. The next thing I don't like about the Polestar 4 though is its body control. Truth be told, it's a little bit all over the place. The level of lateral movement that you get through high-speed corners, but certainly those sharper bumps, is really unbecoming of a car that's fitted with a so-called performance pack. It's a $7,200 option, which stiffens up the suspension, adds those forged alloy wheels and Brembo brakes I mentioned earlier, which sounds good on paper, but make no mistake, this is no sports car. It certainly doesn't handle like one in terms of the body control, which is quite disappointing. But ironically, that does bring me to the next thing I do like about the Polestar 4, and that's its ride comfort, because it's surprisingly soft and quite luxurious and comfortable when you're driving it around town. My previous experience and only other experience with a Polestar product was the original Polestar 2, which was brutally stiff with its own performance pack, mind you, with manually adjustable Öhlins dampers. But come facelift time, Polestar updated that car and got a much better balance between that ride comfort and body control at that point in time. And I really hope Polestar does something similar with the Polestar 4 as well, because as good as the ride comfort is, that body control does need to come into better balance too. Now, with the Polestar 4, it's worth mentioning the adaptive dampers have 3 different modes. There's obviously a softer mode, which is usually the one that I would personally opt for in a car, but I've actually found myself ironically going for the middle setting for the adaptive dampers, which is unusual for me, but again, that extra bit of body control that middle setting offers is worth the trade-off in ride comfort. There's of course a higher setting as well, which gives you even better body control. Still not perfect, mind you, but it's certainly a lot better than it would be otherwise. But again, you do get a sharper ride at that point in time. The next thing I don't like about the Polestar 4 is its size, specifically its width. At just over 2 meters wide, it's what I like to call Lamborghini wide, meaning that on a smaller, tighter street, you really have to be aware of your corners because you will possibly scrape something if you're not. Certainly in tighter car parks, it makes you think twice as well. So it's certainly something I've had to be really conscious of over the last few months. Thankfully, you've got real side mirrors to help with those situations, which is of course great. But where it starts to maybe fall apart a little bit is the digital rear view mirror that I mentioned earlier. Its depth perception is definitely nowhere near as good as an actual piece of glass, and certainly its low light performance isn't that wonderful either. But to be honest with you, after driving the car like this for the last few months with no rear window, I've surprised myself by how little I actually use it day to day. It really is those side mirrors that I've come to rely upon for myself. Parking can also be a bit of a challenge in the Polestar 4. You've got a near 12 meter turning circle, which is quite significant, a 3 meter wheelbase as well. So it almost would benefit from a little bit of four-wheel steering, but that'd drive the price up. Thankfully, of course, when you are parking, you do have really nice surround view cameras in the Polestar 4 as well, which give you excellent visibility of everything that's happening around you. And of course, your obligatory parking sensors as well, but you can end up nicely positioning the car, so it's not too bad in the end. The next thing I like about the Polestar 4 is its serene safety systems. Unfortunately, these days, safety systems, they bing and they bong at you in a lot of cars to the point that they can be a real turn-off. Thankfully, the Polestar 4 isn't like that. One of the usual culprits in terms of those annoying safety systems is the overspeed warning. The Polestar 4 definitely has one, but the great thing about the Polestar 4 is you can turn off the audible warning and it will actually stay off. A lot of other cars, they default to back on every time you turn the ignition on. Polestar 4 doesn't work like that at all. You still know what the posted speed limit is according to the car, but you don't get that really annoying and incessant noise. Also, the driver monitoring system in the car is really subtle too. It doesn't actually make any noise. You just get a visual warning on the dash, and to be fair, it only really triggers when you aren't paying attention to the road, so it's probably doing a good job there. And then outside of that, the lane keep assist in the car works quite well too. Occasionally you do get a little bit of steering assistance, but it's nothing too dramatic, not making any sort of like large corrections, which is nice. And then you've got the adaptive cruise control with stop and go functionality as well. That works really well too, actually. It provides a nice level of autonomous driving without being too annoying. The next thing I don't like about the Polestar 4 is its real-world energy consumption. Over 3 months, I averaged about 22 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, with most of my driving taking place in city traffic, which is typically more efficient for an EV. So this return is relatively lackluster. My right foot wasn't that heavy, I promise, but I did always have the fan speed on low for the air conditioning, which also wouldn't have helped matters. Given the long-range dual motor's 100 kilowatt-hour battery, this equates to a commendable real-world driving range of about 450 kilometers. But this is short of its 590 kilometer claim on the WLTP combined cycle test, part of which is expected given the aforementioned performance pack's energy-sapping 22-inch wheel and tyre package. The sixth and final thing I like about the Polestar 4 is its free servicing. That's right, it costs absolutely nothing to service for the first 5 years or 100,000 kilometers. Better yet, service intervals are nice and long at every 2 years or 30,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. You get this alongside the Polestar 4's 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty, which is on par for the premium segment these days. That said, its battery is covered by a separate 8-year 160,000 kilometer term, which is the expectation for any EV. Either way, 24/7 roadside assistance is pleasingly included for the first 5 years of ownership. All of this makes the Polestar 4 a much more attractive buy. While we're talking servicing, my third and final month for the Polestar 4 has been quite interesting. One day, on a cold start, had the car on full lock, and I got this really strong vibration coming from the front end. Initially, I thought it might have been a flat tire. It wasn't. So I kept driving the car and put it down to an anomaly until it started happening again and again over the course of a few days. Called Polestar, they took the car for a couple of weeks to have a look at it, potentially for a mechanical issue. Ultimately, I got a call telling me that the car was ready to go again. It was actually a software update that fixed the steering vibration issue. We're in the era of software-defined vehicles, and this is certainly one of them, so welcome to the future, people. Sometimes it might not be a mechanical issue. The Polestar 4 is a head-turner inside and out thanks to its purposeful design decisions. It also offers you the level of performance that you'd expect from a luxury car, both in terms of ride comfort and in a straight line, especially enhanced by the fact that it's of course a fully electric vehicle. But just be careful with how you specify it, because I think the performance pack and dual motor powertrain are both overkill on Australian roads. So you can save yourself a lot of money if you don't option either of those things, even if servicing is free for the first 5 years. But I just really hope that Polestar addresses the body control of the Polestar 4 in a future update. What do you think of the Polestar 4? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, there is a fully detailed 3-part long-term review of this Polestar 4 over at carsguide.com.au, alongside more than 12,000 other reviews as well. Thanks for watching.